Hi, my name is Reiza Clarke, and I am the Dread Pirate, and we are here drinking at Moe's.
This is Drinkin at Mo's, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's also mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinkin at Mo's, where we don't quit. Drinkin at Mo's, that's where it's at, like a power bomb. We hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, know it's a scream.
You know, I've always said here at Drinkinatmos, just because it says drinking at Moe's does not mean it has to be alcoholic. So I'm happy to say Drinking at Moe's is sponsored by Prince Nana Coffee. The exact same guy you see every week on Dynamite, on Collision. Yes, he has his own coffee, and it's freaking delicious. They don't even roast those beans until you've placed your order. And you might be telling me, hey, Big Mo, I'm more of a tea guy. They got you covered there too. Use the referral link in the description of this video. And let's get you dancing like Prince Nana with Prince Nana Coffee. All right, everybody, welcome. Drinking at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff everybody says, because YouTube's algorithm is a pain in the ass. Where you're most place and find the audio podcast too. Don't forget about those. I am excited to continue this build up to MPX's Texas Rumble with my guest tonight, Reiza Clarke. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain.
Good to hear. Yeah, no, I probably could do a little complaining earlier this week when I was like feeling like hot garbage. So like I'm better now, but yeah, no, earlier this week, yeah, if you and I were actually recording in person, I might have been like, yeah, we're rescheduling.
I feel that we drove down to the valley and back on like Sunday morning and then came back like early Monday morning, and I was not a human being until probably like 7 p.m.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but like last Saturday, I could not breathe out of my nose. Like I had to breathe only out of my mouth. And like if I tried to breathe out of my nose, then my throat felt scratchy. And it was awkward because I married into a bunch of San Francisco 49ers fans.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And well, unfortunate for me being a Packer guy, but
Oh, let's go. Two Packer fans right here together.
hell yes. But yeah, the 49ers were playing, I forget who the Seahawks, I think. And I'm sitting there just like, it was not good. So and now I have my wife telling me, the whole bang, bang Niner gang. And I'm like, only when they're playing the Bears or the Vikings.
Like, I'm not trying to, I don't care if they win the Super Bowl. If they win the Super Bowl, that just means nobody won that year.
Yep. I'm literally, it's going to be funny for me again if the Niners happen to play the Packers on the way to it. And it's just going to be like, oh boy. Because I've done it before where I've been the lone Packer guy in the midst of all those 49er fans watching the dang game. And, you're like, Packers do a good play, and you're wanting to be like, yeah, like you. And then you're like, hi.
My problem is I'll get excited and I'll do it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in enemy territory, huh?
Oh God. I have actually, I've done it to where I've actually been in enemy territory where that Packers Vikings game on New Year's Eve a couple years ago in Minnesota, I was there.
Like it was you by your, it's just you were the one lone pack, like the person in Packers gear, and it's like a sea of Vikings fans.
Well, it was funny because I was prepared for a bad reaction. I had a Vikings fan give me free fried cheese curds. Like they had like all this food they weren't gonna be able to eat, and they mini bucket of fried cheese curds. I'm like, yeah, I ain't one to turn down free food, especially fried cheese curds.
I love how they were like, you know who would really like this fried cheese? The Packers fan.
you know, I, I don't know why I didn't think about that. Now, before we get into some MPX stuff, I did have one, being a fellow Packer fan, I did have a question. Have you ever had the opportunity to actually go to a game up at Lambeau?
So not yet. It is one of my when I'm when I make it in America and I have all the expendable income that I want to have that I'm gonna take myself on up to a game.
Oh,
Honestly,
okay.
the thing that I want to spend real money on is I one of my before I hang up the boots of life. Want to be able to go see the Packers and the Cowboys in Dallas because every time the Packers beat the Cowboys, obviously as someone who has lived in Dallas pretty much their entire life, it adds like 5 years onto my life, especially because the fact that I still have to hear Dez caught it. I agree. It doesn't matter though.
Yeah.
Like, just knowing that it still bothers people all these years later just makes my heart so happy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did actually get the opportunity to go to my first ever game. Goddamn. I think it was like the season before the whole New Year's Eve game that I said I went to in Minnesota. I ended up going. My first game at Lambeau ended up being Aaron Rodgers' last as a Packer.
Like you were going in to see what's coming out.
Yeah, pretty much. And I got a bunch of stuff from there, but one that my prize one, my Reggie White bobblehead,
I love it.
because he's like my favorite Packer ever. So when I saw that they had that, I'm like, okay, that's mine.
It's like you're coming home.
Yep.
And like honestly, I desperately just want to go to a Dallas Green Bay game in Dallas because the thing that I always say is I don't care what is going on with our season. They will lose every other game that season, but if they play the Cowboys, they're winning that no matter what, like they're just not losing. So I was like, notice how when we play to a tie, everyone was like, y'all, you would have thought Dallas won the Super Bowl the way they were.
I do remember that. I do
And
remember that.
I was like, you know how bad it has to get where you're like, you know what, it's not a loss, we'll take it.
Yeah, and then the Packers fans are all like, you know what, that might as well just have been a loss.
It's like for the Packers fans, it absolutely was a loss, but for Cowboys fans, again, it was like they won the Super Bowl.
I do vaguely remember that.
It's like try living it. Folks were like, we didn't lose. I'm like, you still didn't win.
You
That
didn't win it either.
I keep saying y'all can't beat Green Bay, and you keep proving me right.
Hey, all your best defenders end up making their way up to, like, hell. You release one, and then he ends up going right to the Packers.
When I tell you, if you heard, hyena cackling when they picked old boy up, it was me all the way from Dallas because I was just like, you know what? I'll take it. I was like, I like the kid. So you know what? You leaving my home team to go be a part of my favorite team, I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right.
The winner of this is me.
Oh, yes. Now, to get into some wrestling stuff, the first question I like to lead off with everybody with when they first come on, what got you started as a fan? And then what got you deciding to make the leap into the business?
So I, like most people, I started watching it on TV. I tell you all the time, I have a vivid memory of watching the first wrestling match I ever watched. I only remember one of the teams in it. It was a Harlem Heat match, and I remember it so vividly because, like, up until that point, my brain, like, all the wrestlers looked like, Sting, Hogan, whatever. So here come these two black guys, and I'm like, wait, 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 we get to do this? This is something we're allowed to do too? And so I was just completely awestruck. And so obviously I have like a soft spot for Booker and Stevie Ray just because like I didn't. It was like not something I even thought to watch. Obviously, I was really, really young. But before that, but I was like sold after that, and so like I also like one of my favorite wrestling memories too, just growing up, was my mom. Like her family were big wrestling fans, so she was fine with us watching wrestling, but she didn't watch it herself. One of the few episodes that she like, I don't even say sat down to watch, but bothered to pay attention to was the episode where they sacrificed Stephanie McMahon. My mom
Oh,
was
on
Pentecostal.
the Undertaker symbol, and yeah, that, yeah.
So, as someone who's, my mom grew up Pentecostal, was like not in my Christian household. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I
So
bet that one was cut off rather quick.
yeah, we didn't get to watch wrestling for a while before my dad was like, yeah, no, like it's fine. It'll be okay. Like we've raised our kids with enough sense that I don't think they're gonna be on the playground trying to sacrifice the other kids.
Yeah, no, one of the few don't try this at home things that a lot of kids probably, I would like to think, at least probably actually followed through and didn't try that at home.
Yeah, I feel like a sacrifice may not go over super well with the parents, especially, down here in the South.
Yeah, probably not.
So
Most of
yeah,
most of my first year in the Navy was down in, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama. So yeah, I can imagine, anywhere in that vicinity, something like that not going over well.
yeah. So my mom was very like, I don't know what it is that they're showing y'all on television, but we're not watching that here. She obviously eventually got over it. I think it was she just became more like on top of actually kind of eyeballing what was happening on the episode because I was a SmackDown kid because we had regular TV. So I think she was just like, I got to make sure that my kids aren't watching live sacrifices on TV anymore.
Funny thing with that, when SmackDown first started, and they were on, like, what was it, UPN, for like
Yeah.
the longest time, at least up here, I never got to watch SmackDown because we didn't get UPN up here. And good Lord, I think the first episode of SmackDown I ever watched was when I went on a trip up to New York City. It was like shortly after the year anniversary of the September 11th stuff. That happened like my senior year of high school, actually. But they still had the WWE New York restaurant in Times Square where they did the SmackDown viewing parties and, Raw and the pay-per-views. Well, I happened to be up there around when SmackDown was going to be airing, and my dad was like, "Where do you want to go to dinner?" Well, hey, I want to go there. And then I ended up meeting Tommy Dreamer because he was the WWE superstar there at the time. And they actually, like, places like Hard Rock and where is it? Planet Hollywood and stuff, they'd have like their, you could actually buy the glass, like they'd have the.
Oh yeah, like the little commemorative glass thing.
I still got my WWE New York one.
Awesome. That's sick.
Oh yeah, no, I when I found, my dad and I each got one, and when I found them both at their house one time I was down there, I'm like, well, I'm taking that one. I'm taking one of them.
Because
Oh yeah.
honestly, we used to joke that like, and I kind of now it's like down here it was like SmackDown was regular TV and Raw was like you had cable or satellite or whatever, and so it was always like that's how you could tell who grew up with money and who like was just didn't, because if you watched Raw and the pay-per-views, oh, you have money.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
watch SmackDowns and the recaps of the pay-per-views from when they would air them on SmackDown, because like I don't think I watched an actual pay-per-view while it was happening until the network. Just because like growing up, my parents didn't get them for me, so the only thing I would know of the pay-per-views is like that SmackDown after like the first like 2 or 3 minutes would be like the recap of the pay-per-view before, and that's like the only thing I would know about the pay-per-views was the things you could watch back.
Mm, you know, I I got to watch a couple before the network, but that was only because I was going to school and it was a group project. Had a fellow wrestling fan, and they had a pay per view watch party at Hooters. So he was like, "Hey, you want to go?" And I'm like, "I think it was WrestleMania 20." And I'm like, "You go watch WrestleMania, freaking Hooters?" Yes. So we did that, and I think I actually bought a couple when I was stationed in California. The first and only ones the first ones I ever actually bought with my own money, because I mean, I had a little more disposable income at that point. But growing up, like you, yeah, no, my parents weren't gonna spend the money on the pay per view.
There was like a bunch of stuff that I went back and watched like once the network was a thing and I was like back to watching wrestling that I like I sort of the one thing that like happened when I was a kid that I'm still like genuinely feel the same level of anger then as I do now was the whole Triple H beating Booker T thing. And like I went back and actually like watched it and was like, oh, this is even more infuriating now that I've seen the whole thing. Than
Yeah.
like when I just seen like the little clip as a kid. So I actually remember being like, why isn't he getting up? And just being so angry and like and then like as an adult watching it back, being like, oh no, I wasn't exaggerating how long he was on the ground. Like it actually he was on the ground longer than I remember him being on the ground. And it's making me more mad now as an adult than I was as a child. And so people are like,
Oh.
who's your least favorite wrestler? I'm like, to this day, it is still Triple H. I have not forgiven him for that.
Oh yeah. No,
Like,
like gotta love Booker T though. Although I will, before we get into some MPX stuff, I will say, as much respect as I have for Booker, there's some of the commentary on NXT where like he and hey, doing the commentary job, getting into the product, so I can respect that. But there's some that's like, good Lord, calm down. It sounds like you're about to have a seizure or something.
sometimes I feel like he forgets that he's like being recorded because sometimes he'll be doing commentary and I'm like he just sounds like me when we're having like a watch party and I'm just just happy to be there and I'm like sometimes he'll do commentary and I'm like did he forget he's being recorded?
Oh, heck. You know what? Thinking back to that, I can respect it even more because the little bit that I've been able to dip into commentary, I I I joke that I brought the same energy that I would if I were just sitting in the crowd. And I kid you not, I had some of my commentary partners having to stop for like a solid minute because I said some off the wall thing, and like I they were talking about, okay, tangent alert here, because now I'm getting, but it fits into the story. I was sitting there, and in the ring they're talking about the second show. It's like, oh, sounds like a solid second show, and I'm like, in my head, it didn't take this long for me to respond, but in my head I'm like, you really just walked yourself right into this one. I, without missing a beat, I just said, yeah, because nobody likes a runny number two. And he was just like, mother.
I I feel like I've done commentary like once and I feel like low key I'm a liability on commentary for like exactly that reason. It's like I'm gonna say something and they're gonna be like, yeah, cut her mic off. She's done.
No, yeah, no, that I liken myself to the Pat McAfee of my commentary teams. Because I'm going to say some off the wall thing like when Pat likened Dominic Mysterio to a dude wipe after you wipe.
There's some times where McAfee will be going on, and I'm like, there is somebody in that truck right now who just has their finger over the little bleep button and is praying for
Yeah,
their
they're,
life.
they're like just hovering it right over. Like,
They're like, there's some poor person that's just like, please, please, Pat, not tonight.
oh, but man, that's one of the things I love about that guy. But anyways,
I
before I
was like,
get into
I didn't even finish and I didn't even answer your second question.
so
We just got
yes, getting into the wrestling business, like actually making that leap.
So funny enough, it was that I started working for the state. I worked in the food stamp office for a few years. And like the very first week I was there was a woman there for training, or like she was there training people. And so they had her like temporarily set up in the desk next to mine. And so we just got to talking, and she was a really big fan of VIP. And was like, "Oh, there's this show in Arlington that we go to every month." Like, so we got to talking about how like WrestleMania had been in town. I think it was like the year after. So it would have been like, yeah, if WrestleMania was in Dallas, not the most recent time, but the time before that, that like next spring is when she and I
Ooh.
got talking. As I was talking about how like I was so out of wrestling at the time that I had gone to see family in Houston the same weekend WrestleMania was in town and didn't realize it until like days before because all the like the advertisements had gone up. But she was like, "No, you should go to the show. Like we go every month. It's the quality's really good. It's in town." I didn't know indie wrestling like really was a thing at the time, and so I didn't know it was even an option. So I was like, "Cool." I go to the website to buy tickets, and I see an advertisement for like they have a wrestling school and they have tryouts coming up. And I was just like, "Oh, that'll be kind of fun." Like worst case scenario, it'll be a fun story to tell people that I went to this pro wrestling tryout. I firmly expected it to be like, because I was in terrible shape at the time. And so I expected it to be like hard and awful and for me to be like, well, that was fun and never do it again. And then that is not what ended up happening. I felt like the next day, I did feel like I had gotten hit by like a Ford F-150. But I was like, I could do this again.
Oh yeah, like I remember doing a pro wrestling boot camp one time, just thinking kind of the same thing. Like, eh, if nothing comes of it, hey, cool little story I get to tell. Even more so because that pro wrestling boot camp was actually at the convention center attached to the hotel I was put in the night before I left for boot camp.
That's
So I
awesome.
had the laugh of, ha ha ha, I left here going to one boot camp. Now I'm going back to go to another. But I remember walking funny for about a week after.
Oh yeah. It's like one of those things where like no matter how like good of shape you're in, it's such a novel like you know movement and like what you're doing is that your body can't be like prepared for it. So it's always one of those where you're like I used to tell you all the time, like, look, you're gonna wake up tomorrow and you're gonna feel awful. It is not just you. You are not super out of shape. Everybody feels this
Yeah,
way.
everybody.
And my little spiel before we would get started used to be like, I have run tryouts where we have college athletes come through the door and they end up hugging the toilet. They end up hugging the trash can. It's a tough thing to do. It is not easy. So it is not that you are behind or you're just not getting it. You can't. We're essentially telling your body to do the exact opposite of everything you ever learned, like how to keep
Mm-hmm.
yourself safe. And like, especially if you're like an amateur wrestler or like a dancer or cheerleader, a lot of this is stuff that feels very similar to something you already know how to do. And your body wants to do that. And you're telling it, no, do something else. I'm like, nope, this is just hard and it just kind of sucks. And you're going to wake up tomorrow feeling like hell. It is not just you. This is not a sign of you being behind. This is your body asking, what are you doing to it?
Oh yeah, and you know the other thing that I keep on thinking about whenever this comes up is when I've heard that when MMA fighters or boxers try to dip into the world of professional wrestling and start doing the training and saying that the pro wrestling training is harder than the stuff that they normally go through because in MMA and in boxing you're not you're training not to fall. Where in pro wrestling, you're doing that hundreds of times a match.
Yep. And like especially with like the MMA guys and like the boxers and stuff, it is especially hard when you like your body has a basis for this movement already. And you're trying to get it to stop doing what, especially because I'm like a lot of these guys, it's like you've been boxing since you were 6. And your body is like, no, I know how to throw a punch. And you're telling it, not really. And because like we get like like amateur wrestler guys, MMA, I'm just like, hey, so the early bits of this, you're gonna be like, why are all these random people who are coming in off the street progressing faster than I am? Because they have no basis for what I'm asking them to do. So I'm teaching them from zero. You are having to unlearn, in some cases, a lifetime of another activity to then learn this thing that I'm asking you to do that is very similar. And then when you've learned it, I'm going to tell you, okay, now the thing that you know, you could do more of that now.
Oh God, perfect example of it was oh God, I forget how long ago this was now, but when what was it, Jake Paul ended up coming in to help Logan, his brother, during a match, and you see him trying to throw punches, and you're like, good Lord, you're a boxer and you throw a punch like that?
It's like his brother's like, how is it that you can play boxer with the boxers better than you can play boxer over here with us?
Yeah.
It's like when he lost that fight recently, I was like, great. Now he's gonna come play fight with us.
Oh God. When he lost that one, I was ecstatic because I'm like, yay. And especially I hate sounding like this, but when I heard the whole thing of him having his jaw wired shut because he broke his jaw, I'm like, maybe he'll shut up now.
No, it's one of those where I'm like, as someone who does something that is combat sports adjacent, I can totally see like as a boxer that this must be like the most irritating thing to have like again, your a lifetime of work be made a mockery of someone who doesn't want to fight like boxers. So for him to get in the ring with someone who's generally regarded as being like a phenomenal boxer and getting his head spun around was just like very, very I feel like very satisfying to almost anybody who's like been in any situation where you're like this person doesn't know what they're doing and they're getting this pat on the back for like stumbling around doing Lord knows what that isn't what we do. And so I was like, no, there's a certain amount of them. Like, no, we watched you fight a bunch of like not boxers and old men. It is very, very we all feel very vindicated to watch you fight who you swore was a peer of yours to be reminded you've been play fighting this whole time.
Oh
um
yeah.
if you were to I genuinely like do I believe he's a better boxer than someone who is not trained to box? Absolutely. um he is a better fighter than most random people on the street. I
Yeah.
just think it's very disrespectful to the entire sport of boxing and the people who've spent this much time and effort in their lives to get as good as they are, to then try to speak about him in a light that is anything other than like a recreational. This is a rich kid with a hobby. And I feel like it's not fair to talk about him like he is more than a rich kid with a hobby.
I I fully agree with you there. Now, MPX mentioned at the start of this episode, they are in the midst of Texas Rumble season, which I've said it before. Rumble shows on just about any promotion's calendar are some of my favorite shows of the year because it's like you truly never know what to expect on the independent levels, especially because, I mean, there's some national TV promotions that actually let their people out and do independent booking. So you got that pool of people. You got the people they regularly bring in. The possibilities are pretty much endless. And then when you have a promotion like MPX that's already running weekly shows, which like on an independent level, that doesn't happen a whole lot of anywhere. like monthly at most.
Oh yeah. A weekly show is like a unique, like running weekly TV is a unique carry, but trying to run like essentially a TV show on the independent level is very much a unique experience to be a part of. And I can only imagine like the intricacies, the ins and outs of it are that much more I don't say stressful, but it's like, yeah, it is a completely different beast than running a show like once a month.
Yeah, no, I can totally imagine because everything, you have with the most places that run the monthly shows, you're having that time in between to kind of plan stuff out where, yeah, you still have the in between the weekly shows, but then you're having all the training on top of everything, on top of people having air quotes shoot jobs to like all these other intricacies to where know monthly shows have a little bit more wiggle room. But MPX is doing a consistently weekly show, and everything I've been able to see is it's pretty consistently freaking good.
I feel like, I mean, obviously I'm partial to MPX, but I think like Texas as a whole as a scene, we have a really great problem in the fact that like it's a depth of talent. There's because it is so easy to get quality training here. We have a lot of really, really, really solid wrestlers. And so it ends up being that just like I feel like what is like a run of the mill, what is I feel like is acceptable as like okay wrestling here is can be light years above what is considered like okay wrestling in other parts of like the country, the world, whatever. But I think that, and you see that in like you said with MPX is like everybody who comes through the door, whether you see them every single week or you see them once in a blue moon, has such a talent level that it makes it really easy to watch as a fan week in and week out because like no matter who you get, you're never having to worry about like there being a dip in quality.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And then when you have the national TV promotions coming in to your area, and they'll use people for uh, the background people for everybody jokes about the security guys that always get beat up or stuff, but then like with AEW and Ring of Honor, I know I saw a guy that I've had on now 3 times. I'm getting ready to release his episode here soon, but Demo Diamond and Havens I saw were just advertised for a Ring of Honor taping, and then High End and Mile World. I've had Mile World on, and then I'm seeing now the opportunities that those two are getting over there with AEW. Is like, holy crap, this is freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, and I think like that's the beauty of like specifically in PX is like yeah, um, Demo and Cavens had their match. That was once Cavens had escaped the ceiling from being thrown there by Lance Hoyt. Um, like the best part of that is like being in the back and being like, huh, everybody has disappeared, and then you look up and there's Cavens being yeeted into the ceiling,
Oh
and I was
god,
like, oh,
I remember seeing that video, and yeah, I've had the opportunity to be there live and actually get to meet Lance Archer on an occasion, and nice dude, but when you get, it's like there's those people that behind the scenes, one person, but you get that out in front of that camera, and I'm not wanting to mess with him out there.
oh, that's 100% how I feel about Shane Taylor. Phenomenal human being, love him to death. The last place I want to find myself is in the opposite corner, staring at him. Like same thing with Archer. It's like phenomenal human being, great guy. The day that I look up and I'm staring at the Murder Hawk monster across the ring for me, we're gonna test out how good both of our cardio is because I'm about to take off running.
I'm I'm gonna need to check off and go make sure that my gear bag has an extra change of pants because I'm yep.
So
The
like it's
other
one of
thing,
those. I'm gonna make sure that my life insurance is all up to date. All
oh
my
yeah, all
information's
of
been
that
up to
because what is it his I think his entrance music, everybody dies.
date. Yep. That because I met him like not too long after I first started wrestling because he was in this area quite a bit at the time. And it was just like, see, I'm not a small person myself, so very rarely do I have to like look up at someone. And so I was like, "Oh, you're massive." Okay, because like my youngest brother is 6'5" himself, so I always joke that like I always end up adopting people that remind me of my brother because Demo reminds me a lot of my younger brother. But I'm like, I'm so used to being around like large people and large men specifically that like him being big enough that I was like, I had to crane my neck up. I was like, I believe the everybody dies statement because if you were to choke slam me, I believe that between up here and you letting me go, that I was probably going to go ahead and see what God was getting up to because I didn't want to be here when my body hit the ground.
Yeah, one of those out of body experiences at that point. Yeah. Now, another thing I'm loving as of recent with MPX is these Who Runs the World shows. Athena's been doing a great job there, and it's like truly getting to see the sheer amount of women's wrestling talent out there that you can put on a good quality show and oftentimes outperform some of the guys.
uh, Women's shows, like obviously specifically Who Runs the World, but like women's shows as a whole are like just if you have the opportunity wherever you're at to just go to one, absolutely do it. I think, and I've said this to a couple of people recently, like I think that there's a certain carry that a lot of women kind of, and I would say all of us kind of have that the guys don't have. The rope you have to hang yourself with in regards to bad match versus bad wrestler is quite a bit shorter for us. And so I think that like especially in these all women shows, it's like you want to go out there and have people leaving and literally being like, wow, that was so good. Wow, I'm so glad I came to that. Like because I
Yeah,
think that sometimes, especially you have a lot of times where it's your matches look like an attraction match. So it's like, and then we have some ladies. And so it's really nice to kind of be able to show up to a card and be like, the folks that are showing up to see us wrestler here to see us wrestlers as performers and just like as thinking that we're capable wrestlers. And you're not left kind of feeling like I was an afterthought so that they can't say, oh, there wasn't any women on here. And it's like obviously well thought out, matches themselves. The whole show feels like this, cohesive unit. And you walk out of the doors going, I can't wait for the next one. And I think that that's like the kind of the feeling that, I mean, every wrestler wants fans to leave with, but like specifically for women and women's shows, that's kind of like, that's what gets more people coming in. That's what gets more shows run. That's what, allows you to be able to get booked in these other places because someone's like, oh, you know, if you build it, they will come. Look at all these fans taking it seriously. Maybe we can take this gamble where we're at as well.
for sure. Now, all women's match in particular, that I don't think, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe this one was actually, maybe it was on the Who Runs the World card, but it was like a bad bitch brawl I
Yeah.
saw that, like, you in there, and then high end and
It
ah
was myself, Leona, Hyen, and then Tashvik.
yes, and I mean when I saw Deonna Purrazzo on there, I'm like, okay, another person that behind the scenes, absolutely lovely person, just amazing. I've been lucky enough on one occasion I've been able to meet both her and Macklin, but Deonna, lovely person, but out in front of that camera, the very definition of a bad bitch.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like the beauty of like Diona is a, you know, a perform like she I feel like has kind of created or at least like legitimized in, you know, my generation of wrestling, like a woman being like a technical wrestler.
Yeah.
Obviously that is she's not, you know, the only one, but I feel like it's like at the time period, like, you know, when I first got into wrestling, like 2016, 2017, there wasn't a lot, like a lot of folks had gotten picked up. So, you know, the Sarah Matas, the you know, Sarah Del Rey's, like they were off doing other things other than being on the indies at the time. So it was like her and like Rachel Ellering were
Yeah.
like technical wrestlers. And I used to remember like they were one of the few people that you could go to for, you know, that style of wrestling. And so just one being able to get into the ring with her at all is was very a surreal experience. So seeing, I think I was as surprised as everybody else when the graphic came out. I was like, oh, well, I guess I got to tighten up. But like she's a phenomenal competitor, and I think it's one of those where there's some people you get in the ring with, and you're like, I have to bring my A game because if I don't, like the ending is inevitable. And I think especially in like the Bad Bitch Brawl in itself is like I think I like that they're continuing it on as like a just, you know, as something they do on the show is like a standard because one, it's kind of, you know, it's just free for all because they're like, all right, good luck guys. But I also think it's like in certain cases, like in the very first one, it was very much a hoss fight. Like
Yeah.
the first one, you know, Baby D, Morgan Mercy, um, Nyla Rose, and Charity King. That's very much a hoss fight.
Yeah.
You know, you're putting people through doors and all that kind of stuff. And I think that, you know, the Babbage Brawl that I was in was quite a bit more. I think that everybody they kind of put in there is more, what is the word that I want? Uh like you have a lot of people who just like are they're well thought out in what they do. Because you know, Hyon is, you know, the Renaissance woman. Tatovic has a martial arts background. Deonna Purrazzo is like the technical wrestler. And so it's one of those where it's like you have a bunch of people who are very like purposeful in how they move around the ring and how they do things. And so I think that was a completely like different feel to the Bad Bitch Brawl than the one before it. They had one recently on just a standard MPX show that was London Dior, Raylan, um, and our kid Ash. And I know I'm missing one person. I can't think of who it is now. And I'm going to feel so bad.
It happens. The
Like,
amount of wrestling that I have to watch for preparing for different episodes of this show is brain farts happen.
100%. I'm like, I know I'm like, I'm gonna look up who this is because my brain's like, whoever this person is gonna be so mad that you forgot her. So I'm like, of course, it's gonna be somebody that I see like immediately after this.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah,
It always happens right after, like right after when you're not even thinking about it anymore.
as soon as we get off this, my brain's gonna be like, it's insert name. But yeah, it was just like it is one of those where I know I'm going to find where are you? I know you're here. Um, dang it. But yeah, like theirs was just way more, you know, people just like flippy stuff and like it was like a pure athleticism where like all of them had just because it's different people feel like they have a completely different feel to them. And so we all kind of it's yeah, I like seeing it as a match just stipulation because it forces you to kind of it makes you think
Oh
because
yeah, a
you're
little bit of thinking outside of the box where like, yeah, you might normally be a technical wrestler, but then now it's like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to bring in all this other, you know, thinking outside of the box, like I said.
it's like, yep. And so yeah, I like it as stipulation. I also think like with the last few times they've kind of it seems like they're kind of making it like this is the way for you to get number one contendership. So it's you having to go through like a pretty decent field all at once if you know what your opportunity or it's back to the drawing board.
Hey, I kind of like that. I like those ones where, yeah, oh, you want your shot. Well, you're really gonna have to earn it here, and like
100.
get thrown in there in a match like the Bad Bitch Brawl. It's like, yeah, you're really gonna earn it.
It was Hudson and V. That's who the fourth person was.
There
I'm
we
like,
go.
I
See,
was like, and I was like, because I was like, I know that this is somebody that I see regularly, and she is gonna see this and be like, wow.
wow, you couldn't remember me, damn
She's like, you remembered everybody else in this match but me.
it.
But yeah, and like just because yeah, like that's the makeup of that match is just so different than mine or the one before it. And so every time you get a bad bridge brawl, you're kind of like, all right, what's going to be the feeling of this one?
Yeah.
How's this one going to play out?
And
So yeah, I
before
think
you
it's
know
fun.
it, you're just. Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was just thinking that before you know it, you're just going to have one bad bitch brawl that's like just going to be a mix of styles from all the other ones into one.
Because honestly, I was saying that I think it would be really cool when we get a couple out to just run one where it's like all the people that have won one before this.
That would be sweet. Oh,
Because
dude, I love that idea. I love that idea. Yeah, Oh man, somebody needs to run that one.
It's like I think it would just be fun because yeah, it's like you have majorly different styles, but it's also like everybody's experience to get to the I won one is so different that it
Mhm.
kind of yeah, it's like there's no real way to get ready. So I would say like I think mine was probably less of a hardcore match than the one before it. And so it's like if you come in prepared for that first one, it's not the same as the second or the third because because yeah, there's way more, jumping and flipping and all this kind of stuff where I feel like with mine, it was a lot of people with like kind of a fighting background. And so it was a lot of, it was super strike heavy. Everybody's just kind of beating each other up because, that that's what you're good at. That's what you know. And so, yeah, I think that'll be fun. Maybe like, or even it's like if you run it long enough, do it good old fashioned Rumble style where it's like you have a Rumble like a year from now that's all the winners of a bad bitch brawl.
Oh yes. Oh man, great ideas coming up with on the show. I love it. Now, the Rumble coming up next month as of recording, and like I said before, I love it. You guys are in that season, getting the year started off with a bang. I know was last week the free show like that. That's on like a great way to start the year off with a bang with a free show like that. I know I heard a guy that I'm a fan of, Manders was there.
Yeah.
I love that guy. I remember when he was still with the Second Gear crew, and I got to meet him, and I got I got to actually tell him and each of the other members of the Second Gear crew my little joke that like, yeah, I'm a fan of loving that style, but I would always joke that those matches might as well be sponsored by Home Depot. They loved it. They were laughing. They loved it. And I also got a joke with Manders one time when knowing his history in college football for being a rival of the team that college football I'm a fan of because I live an hour away from where they play, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and him and I had always had a good interaction. So I told him, whoever said a Hawkeye and a Husker couldn't get along? He laughed, and I'm like, hey,
You won him over.
yep.
Like,
But Manders, love that guy. I gravitate towards a lot of those intense personas, and Manders in front of that camera,
oh yeah.
intensity.
He's like another one where I was like, anytime I watch a match of his and someone's like, all right, cool, I'm just gonna try to fight him. I'm like, I don't think getting into a slugfest with Manders sounds like a good idea for like
Nope.
80% of the population. There's like a very short list of people I would be like, maybe I still wouldn't, but it's like if you get to part of the list of like, I don't know, Demo, Brick, maybe T-Ray, I'm probably not wanting to, try to get in there and throw bombs with Anders.
No, yeah, no, yeah, Brick, maybe. Brick, I could see Brick Savage being like, okay, that would be a good slugfest right there.
There's just like, yeah, there's just a very short list of people where I'm like,
Very
if
short, yeah.
most people, I'm like, if I see you trying to slug it out with Manders, I just hope that you're good with whoever your god is, and
That and you
they are
have a good demo
like,
plan.
oh, absolutely. It's like I hope your insurance is good and your relationship with God is better.
Yep. Now, another person that I've seen the match graphic for this one. I'm actually going to be recording with her here towards the end of the month, I think. Yeah, towards the end of the month. But Shay Carmichael saw the match graphic there. Now I'm loving it when I know that I'm getting to talk to people that are having matches as I'm getting ready to talk with them. Because it's like, oh, even more to talk about here.
Yeah. So here's what's funny about Shay and I, um, is I feel like we've done a weird switch in positions over the last year. Because yeah, she and I had a match Friday, and then funny enough, we found ourselves tag partners at Ring of Honor the next night. Um, and I think what's funny, I guess for me, is kind of like I have been where she's at. I get the frustration level. So to a certain degree, while I doesn't mean I'm any happier to have to interact with it, but I get it. Um, but what's funny to me with her is like I get wanting to have some backup. I don't know if the backup that I would choose are two people who refer to themselves as my Sims. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I
I,
know.
I'm not here to tell her how to live her life, but I will just say this. I've been in two matches with her recently where the Sims have been there, and so far they have not been successful. So if I were her, I might get into the market for some additional Sims, maybe some different ones.
Yeah, that or maybe changing the name because just somebody being known as a sim just doesn't have a using them for backup sort of vibe on it.
Yeah, and I think it's less it's not and for me the way I view them is not so much like a bodyguard, but you know when like you're the automate or the animated Hercules back in the day. It's like henchmen like that, where it's like they're doing
Oh
their best.
yeah.
And I genuinely believe that they are trying to help her win. I think they just simply lack the capacity to actually do it. So it's one of those where I believe that they are giving it their best attempt. I just think that if I'm her, and I'm going to allow these folks to slap my name across their chest, I might pick some different some different folks. My staffing may be a little different because on to a certain degree, it's like Shay's a beautiful woman. I don't think she would have a hard time finding people who to put the Sip shirt on. So I think she has other options because like when we wrestled Friday, it's one of those where I'm like, you got to understand that your backup is the Sims. My backup is set six. There's not a situation where the Sims are going to successfully be able to like beat me up if really any member of set six is in the building. They learned that the hard way on Friday because what I have the luxury that my guys kind of leave me to my own devices when I ask them to. So if I'm like, hey, just leave it be, they respect me enough to do that. On Friday, I was kind of like, look, I don't think it will be necessary, but if it gets to the point where y'all feel like intervention is necessary, then I will not be upset with you for intervening. And that's kind of exactly what happened is, I'm doing my best to ignore them and they are doing their best to try to thwart my efforts. And for the most, I would say that for a good chunk of that was not successful. And then as soon as it started to kind of look like it was going to be, I look up and there's demo. So the problem kind of solved itself. I'm just hoping for her sake that if her intention is to find herself the MPX Women's Champion again, that she either gets the simps in the gym or gets some additional gets some additional simps.
Funny thing with demo is that night that you were just talking about. I was recording with him. He was out in his car right before all that.
Yep. Because like it was because we had talked a bit, and I was just like, yeah, like don't worry about it. You've got your own thing going on. If it becomes an issue, we'll deal with it then. And then I like look up, and here he is, like
Yeah, we finished right before I think any of that your match was even happening. As he said, yeah. So I'm like, dude, don't even worry about it.
now he was like, hey, sorry, I gotta go save the day, like Superman, real quick.
We were done by that point because third time coming on the show, so like you know the stuff that I talk about with people that have first come on is like, okay, I cut out like that chunk of my notes, so like, okay. But no, always a good time with demo. Always a good time with demo. Now another okay. I was a huge fan of this person in AEW. I was glad they had a good little push there for a little bit, but Abaddon making a mark in MPX right now.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
It's one of those where like for me it's like a rock and a hard place where you're like, I appreciate that the champion is capable. I appreciate, that it's like the champion's no slouch, like they are very much worthy of being champion. It's unfortunately for me because it's kind of on the back of me.
Yeah.
So it's like it's one of those where it's like it's kind of like the whole, if my team's gonna lose in the playoffs and the team I need the team who beat me to win. But it doesn't mean I'm any happier about, clearing my stuff out for the season.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I've definitely had times like that with the Packers, and anytime especially in the playoffs, if the Packers play the 49ers and the 49ers happen to freaking win.
It's like I need y'all to go all the way this time, or all of this is for nothing.
Yeah, I always I joke with my in-laws. I'm like, don't make me regret rooting for them.
I completely understand. It's like I'm cheering for you, so I need you to do something with that.
Yep, yep. If you're actually gonna have me cheering for them, freaking make good with it. Because
Oh,
I live got 2-ish hours away from Kansas City, and all of those in-laws, as soon as the who's playing who next season, like the exact schedule isn't out, but home and road games, those are determined. And when they found out that the 49ers were going to Kansas City, it's like, oh God, it's like, okay, it's looking like it's going to be that side of the family's road trip down there for that one. And yeah, my wife's telling me we're going, and I'm wearing 49ers stuff. And I'm like, you wore Packers stuff for me at a Vikings game. I think I'll make this one exception.
it's like this is how you know that I love you. Please never question my love for you.
Exactly. Exactly my words that I told her. All right. Now, I got two categories here. One's a bit of a name game. I name off some people. You give me quick thoughts on them. And each of these people, I try to theme it towards the guests as much as possible. And I've gotten to meet a couple, and I've actually had one of these four on. But each of these women's wrestlers that I don't think, well, some powerhouses, some just entertaining as hell. Now, that crap, I don't know what the fuck that was on my shirt. Anyways, before I get too distracted here, first one, the one that I've actually had on Billy Starks. So, like, first thoughts
I
that
mean,
pop into your head.
I think she's a protege. I think that she's one of those that I say that I wish I had the amount of knowledge about what I want to do with my life as early in my life as she has.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, the passion and drive that she has at the age that she's at already, I I've said it before, there's like, just imagine where she could end up when she starts just thinking about retiring.
Oh, I think that like the Billy Starks that's gonna exist when she's like in her late 20s, early 30s is gonna be insane. Because like I feel like obviously it's like she would have hit her stride by then. She would have gotten comfortable in what she wants to do by then. It's like we'll have a very good gauge of like what and who is Billy Starks. And I'm excited to see what Billy Starks looks like 6 months from now, a year from now. And so I'm just like you said, the version of her that exists when she is like, the locker room vet is gonna be insane.
Oh yeah. Next up, somebody that you hear her entrance music and you can't help but just be in a good mood and smiling. Willow Nightingale.
I love Willow. I am a huge fan of Willow. Um,
Same.
I, I know Athena is not a fan of the the happy smiley disposition, but I'm one of those people where I'm like, it takes so much to genuinely continue to be that level of a positive human being, just in general, but especially with like the lay of the land these days. And so I'm a huge fan of Willow. At this point, outside of like committing a murder, I don't think there's anything Willow could do to make me not like her.
Yeah, I would venture to say right around the same for me, because like I said, you hear that music hit, and then it's just like you have to work not to be smiling when she's coming out there.
She reminds me of Bubbles from Powerpuff Girls, where it's like
Now that I
just
think about it, yeah.
happy to be here, loves her friends, all that stuff. But it's like, but when it comes down to it, if you try her, you are getting an ass whipping for your efforts.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, she's definitely proven that yeah, she might have that bubbly personality, but when she needs to get down there and start kicking some ass, she's gonna be kicking some ass.
Absolutely.
All right, next one. I haven't got to meet her, but I've been pretty up close during a match on Collision once. Timeless Tony Storm.
She is a league all her own. I think that like Tony is one of those where you like I feel like every time I watch her, like I am confused in the greatest way possible. Um, I love people where it's like, even if I don't understand the thought process, you know what you're doing, and we're just all here for the ride. So yeah, it's like every time it's one of those like same things. Like when you hear the music, I'm like, oh Lord, what is she? I feel like it's the same poor person who's hovering over the button for Pat McAfee is hovering over the button for her.
Yes. Oh my God. Some of the stuff, some of the promos were like, oh God. The time that I was sitting in the crowd, literally 2 rows behind the announce desk for Collision, it was the Collision after she had made the comment about Mariah May slapping the tits off her opponent. And the entire time, the days after, I'm like, oh my God, tell me Tony Storm's going to be at Collision. She was. And then I found my moment where, I'm at national TV. I'm this close. I'm going to try to say something off the wall to get somebody to. She's up in the corner. And I cracked Luther. I just yelled out over everybody, slap her tits off. And he just, what the? I'm like,
Got him.
got him. That whole meme, got him.
But yeah, she's one of those where I just genuinely And because she's so unpredictable, it's fun being like, all right, what are we getting tonight?
Oh
What's
yeah.
Tony getting into tonight? Especially
Oh
now it's
yeah.
like her and Nina. I'm just like, oh Lord, what are we getting into tonight?
Oh god. And not just in the ring. Some of those backstage segments where she's talking about chin up, tits out, and watch for the shoe. And then before you know it, she's walking off and she throws a shoe back.
What's super funny was like when she first started doing that. That's my mental cue for when I do squats now. Is chin up, tits out, and so I'm like, because I'm like that's exactly what it is. And so now that's all I can hear when I get ready to squat now.
Yeah. Oh god. I could be laughing about a little bit for that one. Now, last but not least here, definitely a damn powerhouse. Megan Bain.
So I am very impressed with her in the sense that I feel like there's a lot of people where you see them when they first come in and you're like, oh, this person's gonna be a monster, and then like what you get after that, you're kind of like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. I
Yeah.
feel like she is one of those that like very much delivers on what you see in the presentation and just being like from the moment I see her, there is no amount of legitimacy that comes into question. And so I think that like just be again being being able to be that embodied into like at no point do I ever question your legitimacy is hard these days, and I think she's doing a phenomenal job at it. I
Oh yeah.
recently watched the match that she had to start, and it's her and I'm gonna mispronounce this woman's name. I think Bazilla. Um, she's a, like kind of similar to like another powerhouse. Strong as hell, super young. I think she's like 22, and they just went like genuinely one of those where like I would say my ADHD is so bad and I watch for so much wrestling that a lot of times I'll pause things because something will start happening and I'll have to come back to it. I was completely locked in from start to finish because like very rarely do you see Megan Bain getting thrown around. So to see her kind of with someone that is like similar in like stature and strength and all of that was just a phenomenal match. So if you get a chance to watch that, you absolutely should. But like I think she's another one where I'm just like, there you can't teach presence, and she has it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, I have some random questions, some wrestling related, some not, some nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far. That's why I say that it's random. First, so I give you the question, first answer that pops into your head.
Okay.
First one, craziest in match moment for you.
Um, so not in a match, but right after it.
Okay, that counts.
So the very first championship I ever won, my family was there. I had a family who was like back home from some missionary work in the Dominican, so I was thrilled. My night ended getting splashed by Angel Camacho like twice. So it's like a 400-pound dude giving you a Vader bomb. At the end, like you're like, I did it, because this is like maybe the first 2 years of my career. And so I'm like, you have this feeling and you're like, I've done the thing that I've set out to do. Everyone's cheering. Um, and then suddenly you're getting jumped by like, the family Camacho. And then there's fear. And then there's looking up and seeing Angel Camacho coming down at you.
Yeah.
And so into the night, finally get scraped off the mat. And my godfather's like, hey, I don't know if this is for you.
Oh man. Yeah.
So
No, I
I feel
can
like
only
that's
imagine.
my wildest moment because they were like, are you okay?
Yeah. Oh, I can only imagine laying there and seeing somebody of that size doing a Vader bomb or something similar, and like, oh, they're in the air and they're coming right towards you. Oh God.
And the worst part was like I couldn't even do anything about it because I'm like being held down. So it's just me kind of unfortunately not being able to move, being like, oh, this is gonna suck.
Yeah. That, oh God, what's that whole meme of, they're doing a video and then all of a sudden it pauses and it's like, that's when they realize they fucked up.
Like, I felt like I was at the beginning of like one of the BET movies where it's like, yeah, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I got here.
Yeah. Oh man. Yep. Oh,
Like, not a fun feeling. My suggestion is if you have the option of trying to roll out of the way, definitely do that.
definitely, yeah, for sure. Now, one thing when it comes to independent wrestling in general, but especially in Texas, they always say everything's bigger in Texas. Texas is a huge state. It would take a lot to travel from one end to the other. I've seen the meme of, one town and then one town on the other side of the state tomorrow.
Yep.
But leads to, a lot of time in the car. So one way I know that I pass a lot of my time is I'll make random playlists. What is a couple songs you would put on a travel playlist?
Um, so at a certain point in the night when I get tired, I tell people, congratulations, you have to start listening to Meathead music with me. So like I'm unfortunately one of those people that listens to like EDM versions of just the popular songs. So it's like a hard style version of it'll be like a hard style version of like Adele's Rolling in the Deep. And so I know that like 12 we're 12 hours into this car ride and they're like, please pick anything else. Um I listen to a lot of Meg the Stallion in the car. So if you ride with me, you'll be listening to a lot of Megan the Stallion. Recently I have an affinity for, my Texas girls. So like Texas women's rappers are like have my heart right now. So I would probably there is a song by Mono Leo called Putting You Down. I listen to that quite a bit. There is another one that is called Pimpin' Ain't Dead. That is another Mono Leo song. I'm trying to think, what's something I listened to recently? I also love a good sea shanty. I'd be a terrible pirate if I didn't.
the,
So there's a lot of
the
versions.
Navy guy in me is loving that.
So I listen to quite a few versions of like Wellerman, Drunken Sailor. Honestly, like I love me a good sea shanty, something that sounds really close to a sea shanty. So there's probably going to be at least a few of those in there as well.
Okay, I can dig that. I know I'm the type that my playlist will run the whole gambit of music from country to metal to rap to, yeah, I'll admit my wife has turned me into like a minor Swifty. Like I got a couple songs in there. And I'm like,
Like
they're just so damn catchy. I can't help it.
credit where it's due. Taylor Swift can write a song.
Oh, she sure. And I've been lucky enough that, yeah, I have some of my collections back here, but I have one on the wall behind where my camera is that one of my favorite country singers, Dierks Bentley, I actually got to see him in concert once, and it was at like a all general admission venue. So I'm like, I'm gonna get there early. I'm gonna see how close I can get. I ended like two people from the stage. I made the venue's social media pages because at one point he's asking where his beer drinkers are at. And before I know it, I'm shotgunning a beer on stage with him. I still got the
Oh yeah,
can.
that's awesome.
And behind, later on, he starts motioning for something to write with, takes a guitar from one of his band members that's playing it. I got the guitar hanging on my wall back there.
That's sick.
So, like, I'm the whole gambit for like Dierks Bentley, Luke Combs. I'll admit some of my rap taste is probably a little, I guess, could be considered old school, from like Dre, Ice Cube, Eminem, Run DMC to friggin' Metallica and AC/DC and all, like the whole freaking gambit. Like it'll all be in there.
I feel that. No, I have like a bit like obviously raised in Texas, so I have a soft spot for country music here and again, and like for I was so hyped when everyone finally started listening to like last summer started listening to Shabusi and like Tanner Adele and them. Like I'm a huge Tanner Adele fan. I'm a huge Shabusi fan, so I was really excited to start hearing their voices, every time I turn the radio on.
Oh heck, isn't it Shabuzi that you can hear on the advertisements for the NFL games on Prime?
Hmm.
I was wanting to say that's him, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
dang, he really getting going here, getting a song used on a
Oh,
big
and it's
platform like that.
like he's solid. I really like Tanner Dot. I'm a huge fan of hers. Raina Roberts is another one, huge fan of hers. Another guy that they kind of like the country rap sound guy named Willie Jones, huge fan of his too. So it's like it's a certain point in the car. It's like congratulations, we are now in our country music leg of the trip.
I'll just make a long ass one. And I'll just go shuffle and just let it
My
go.
problem, what normally happens is because I have like YouTube music, is I'll click on one and it'll just start making a playlist, and then I'll be like 3 hours in, and I'm like, what is this?
I've been there, and it's weird because I'm like, I I don't know who this is.
There's a couple times where it's like everyone started looking around. I'm like, it was on the radio function. I didn't pick this. I didn't pick this.
All right. Now, another place you could make playlists, but different question here. What's a dream vacation spot for you? Some place that, you know what? We'll go twofold here. One that you've been there already that you'd love to go back, and one place that you haven't been to yet.
Um, so obviously, like I am very lucky in the sense that like my mom was born and raised in the Bahamas, so I grew up going there like every summer. Obviously, as you get older with work and all that, it's not as doable. So I would like to take some time to be able to like actually go down as a family and enjoy our time, because I feel like recently too, like the last few years, she only ever gets to go home when something bad is happening.
So
Um,
go back when something good.
yeah, it's like I'd like to be able to just go back so it's not jaded with something negative happening, and just being able to go and hang out with family and all that kind of stuff.
Definitely a good way to do it. Yeah, that would be awesome.
And then I want to visit one of like the Polynesian islands. I've always said what I always joke around with like brother Kaiwi is that like we're like fish and rice gang, because I'm like it's it's a lot of, it's obviously very different, but it's still very similar.
Yeah,
In the
the
sense of like,
similarities.
oh, the almost all the Polynesian food I've ever had I really liked, but I'm also like, if you've had island food, it's a lot of its variations on a theme, because you only have access to so many things on an island. And so I would like to start to visit, some islands other than the one that I'm connected to personally. So what, like just almost any of the Polynesian islands I think would be kind of cool.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those on my list too for places that I haven't been to yet. I know. Well, I've seen Japan, but when I was deployed, we were anchored off of Japan. Some people got to go on for business stuff. I wasn't one of them. So like I'd actually like to step foot on land and heck, maybe go to a Japanese wrestling show. That'd be pretty cool if I got to manage that. But my my other ones, I'm part German, Irish, and Scottish. So to be able to say like the most I've seen of Germany is through the Frankfurt airport window. So to be able to say that I've gone to all three of those
Like that'd be
of
sick.
my lineage, that would be pretty cool. But then for one that I've actually been there, my wife and I's honeymoon was an Alaskan cruise. I'd do that all over again.
I was like, that sounds like a good time.
Oh man, it was something. But it was funny because you could tell the people that were from the the majority warmer climates, is there'd be stops where we'd go through a glacier area and we'd still be on the ship, and people would be like bundled up in like full on winter gear. And then my wife and we were in like jean shorts and a hoodie.
Like, I tell you all the time, I'm like, you can tell that I was genetically engineered for colder climate or like warmer climates because the moment it gets like below 60, I'm like, all right, guess I gotta dig my winter coat out.
That was me the entire, well, I was the opposite end of it the entire time it got that way when I was stationed in San Diego, because I'd be in like jeans or jean shorts and a t-shirt, and I'd be having people asking me if I was cold, and I'm like, go back home with me right now and you'll find out what cold is. You think
That's
this
it.
is cold.
My strength coach is like that. I always joke that I can tell when it's cold for real when he has actual pants on, because it'll be like I'll come into the gym and I have like a hoodie and like sweatpants and all that on, and he comes into the gym in a pair of shorts and like a shirt like I have on with the sleeves cut off, and I'm like, it's 30 degrees outside. And he's like, well, I'm a big person. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, Viking blood, like, calm down. I'm like, I had to defrost my windshield this morning, and your shoulders are out.
Oh yeah.
I
All
was
right.
like, you don't have to lie to me. You and your Scandinavian lineage.
Oh yeah. Oh man. I've got a few memories of stuff like that. All right. Now with the name of a show like I have, I feel like I have to ask this. Favorite drink, alcoholic or otherwise, because I've had plenty of people on that for one reason or another don't drink. So I'm inclusive of it. I'm respectful of everybody.
Um, let's see. So non-alcoholic wise, there is a soda that you can pretty much only buy in the Bahamas, um, called Junk or Goombay Punch. It's phenomenal. One of my favorite things. I actually my mom brought me a 6-pack home because she went home recently, and so I
Nice.
have it like once every 3 years because the only other way you could get it is to buy it online, and it's mad expensive. So that's like my favorite non-alcoholic beverage, and then alcoholic beverage. Now I'm like one of the people that bartenders love to see coming, because normally if I go out, it's like I'll do either Coke Zero or like Diet Coke and like whatever the well whiskey is. Um and and then like at the house, I sweet sparkling like white wine. I'm not picky on where it comes from, what it's called, like gets me as well. But every once in a while I do like a shot of Kraken. I've had the same bottle of Kraken in my like little cabinet thing for like a year, which I was telling someone recently. That's how I could tell I became an adult, because now I have alcohol sitting around, and I'm like, that's how I can tell I've grown up, because now I'm like, if I start drinking this late, I'm gonna have a headache in the morning. And
Oh god.
21-year-old me did not care about that.
Oh man. I have the same thing. I'm kind of either a whiskey or tequila guy when it comes to, liquor. And I have two tequilas that I really like. One, the Rocks Terramana. Love
Okay.
that. That stuff's smooth as hell. And there's one that George Clooney used to own that is basic. It's same, just as smooth, maybe a little bit more expensive though. But you put that stuff in a margarita, and you're gonna make that whole adage, one tequila, two tequila, three tequila floor.
Yep. That,
That's about that.
there's a tequila I really like, a brand that I really like, that I tell you, it's like, in my opinion, like one of, if not the best, like cheap tequilas. Like this is, again, if you're someone who's like a, a tequila connoisseur, I'm sure there are better things out there. Mine is, I love a good Lunazul. I'm a person like, I feel like it's like a good run of the mill. If you're someone who, if you have a Total Wine near you, they're there. They usually expects like the very easily purchased tequila, but like for the price point. So I would say like the like 1.75 liter bottle is like $30. And so
Mm.
like the smaller ones obviously close to like 16, but like for even like by itself, pretty smooth. Like in a margarita, phenomenal. They sell all. They have an añejo, they have a blanco, they've got the reposado. So I'm a huge fan of them. So if you're someone who doesn't want to break the bank and likes a good tequila, theirs are solid. For especially for like the sub $20 price point.
Yeah. Although I will admit I'm more of a beer guy, and I'm a little upset that they don't sell this any closer than Kansas City to me. But Stone Cold's Broken Skull, freaking you, Stone Cold favorite all time. You know, if this man put his name behind a fucking beer, that it's gonna be fucking good.
Oh yeah. It's like I honestly, when he came out with it, I was like, I'm surprised this hasn't happened previous to this. But then I was like you said, I was like, I can see him being super particular about whatever beer he puts his name on.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna be one of those that people joke is pretty much toilet water. No,
Yeah.
he puts his name behind a beer. You know it's gonna be freaking good. All right. Last but not least here, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
So the big one is going to be take care of your body, take care of your body, take care of your body. If you're someone who's like thinking, this is the year I want to get into training, one of the biggest things I can tell you is like get into the habit of going to the gym now. If you're not somebody who is going like consistently, now is the perfect time. Like I was someone who, like I said, I came in off the couch. And so like it's something as simple as if you decided, this is something I want to do, get started right now and decide you're gonna pick one day a week and you're gonna go to the gym that day, like clockwork every single week. Get into the habit of it. Go when you're tired. Go when you don't feel like it. Go when the weather sucks. Like that way, when you get into actually like going to training, and then you have your desk job, you have your training stuff, you have like as you start to train more, you're gonna have all these other things just get compounded into your life. Now is the perfect time for the things that are the non-negotiables, which are gonna again be just taking care of your body, getting into the gym and training. Like now is the perfect time to make those kind of commitments to yourself, because even outside of just like you wanting to be in good ring shape, that's going to be what keeps you from banging your body up something crazy. And get in like, and this is now the time to figure out like, what is the most enjoyable for me. When I first started training, I would convince myself I was going to do CrossFit. I hate it. I went for like 2 months. I was miserable. I absolutely hated it. It's not the training style for me. I know plenty of people that do it and love it. I pretty much fell into like, I am not a powerlifter, but I kind of got into that style of training. And so it's like, you have to figure out what is going to be something that's going to have some longevity for you. And I think that like the beginning of the year, I know some people are like anti New Year's resolutions. I'm not. I think anything that's going to help you feel like you have a good starting point is great, because sometimes it literally is just mental. And I think that if you feel like you need a clean slate, this is the perfect time of the year to get started on that, just so that you have one less thing to alter your life around when you start training, because it is an absolute lifestyle change. You're probably going to hear that a lot, but genuinely and truly, like when you start training to wrestle, your entire life gets put around wrestling. The second thing I can tell you that's probably just as important, if not more important than you being in the gym and like that, is if you have relationships that are important to you, you need to make sure that you find a way to make time for those people and commit to that time all of the time. Because if you have to make your life compete with wrestling, wrestling will lose every single time. Especially, I started training at 25. At 25, a lot of people have, you started to move into the other facets of your life. You're starting to figure out, if you aren't, married or in a committed relationship, this is kind of the stage of life where you start trying to decide, that's something I want. If you're trying to figure out, do I want kids? If you don't already have them, you're figuring out, if you don't own a house, where are we going to live? What are we going to do? It's like, so those things are not going to get any easier. And especially if you are in a relationship, you need to make time for that person. It is unfair to them to lose you completely to something that they don't have to lose you for. For me, it's like my mom and I are really close. I make sure that at least once a week we have time to have dinner or just hang out or something, so that I don't lose that relationship because of wrestling.
Yeah.
So that's like one of the best advice that I've heard just given over my time is just don't make the people that you care about secondary to wrestling, because they're going to be the people that, when you need someone to watch your house when you're on the road, when you need someone to, sit up all night and help you package your merchandise, when you need someone to to sit around and just listen to you complain about, what's going on and your frustrations and all that, those are going to be those people. And it's unfair to them that their needs aren't being met because you're ignoring it for wrestling. So
No, yeah.
mine is just get your ducks in a row the best you can before you get started, because it's way easier to do minor shuffling than to have your entire life upended when you're not prepared for it.
For sure. Now, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
So I am fairly easy to find on Instagram, the app formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, all of that. I am despicable REI_. And then on Facebook, I'm just Reiza Clarke. And Clarke has an E. Please do not divorce me from my E. The E and I are very close, and it means a lot to me.
No problem. All right. Now, before we go, I'm having everybody during this Texas Rumble season do two things here. One, a message for the fans of MPX getting ready for the Texas Rumble, and also a message for whoever the heck is going to end up on the other side of the ring from you the night of the Texas Rumble.
Um, so to the fans, I think that just, I mean, Rumble season is a clean slate across the board. It gives you it gives everybody kind of an opportunity that they may not otherwise get at, title glory. And so I think now if you haven't been around for a while, or someone who's more casual, now's the time to kind of, start to pay attention. We are in a uncharted place of things. And so I think now is a phenomenal time to kind of get in and get acclimated to the craziness that is MPX. I think that this upcoming year is going to be like just a breakout year for MPX as a whole and a lot of people within it. And so I think now's you don't want to be the person that was like, oh dang, this big TV star used to wrestle down the street for me and I had the opportunity to go and never went.
Yeah.
So obviously I think anytime you have, we're on Twitch every week. The thing that I always like to tell people, if you don't already know, if you have an Amazon Prime account, you already pay for a Twitch subscription every month through the scope of you paying for that Amazon Prime account. Use that to subscription like I do. Take yourself over to the MPX Twitch account, subscribe. Now you can see everything that has happened in like the last 2 years, as well as the shows when they're happening. So if you can't physically be in the building, you can still, be one of the MPX addicts.
Definitely.
As for my peers in the ring, I feel like I said pretty, straightforward that I have an intention of being the 2-time women's champion. I don't think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when. But that being said, the idea that is the only thing that I am interested in is misguided. So there are a lot of things that I would like to accomplish personally at MPX, and there's a lot of things that I would like to see Set 6 be able to accomplish at MPX. And the Texas Rumble, in my opinion, is the first step in being able to make all of that happen. So while I very much would love to be the person that's standing in the ring at the end of the Texas Rumble, I need them to realize they are not just fighting me. They also have to deal with the fact that they're fighting Set 6 as a whole. We have the luxury that gold for one of us is gold for all of us. And so when you are, again, trying to focus on one of us, there are, 4 other people, not including Jamie, that you have to be concerned about. And then there's, Jamie Yaller is a beast in himself. So you have a lot of ways that you're going to need to make sure that your head is on a swivel, because again, like I said, I would love to be the person that ends up being the winner of the Texas Rumble, but my end goal really is to make sure that whoever ends up winning the Texas Rumble is a member of Set 6.
Hell yes. All right. Well, that is about all I have. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Been an absolute pleasure. Wish you well with the Texas Rumble, and you are welcome back anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Thank you. All right, now my issue with this fucking button. Let me See, this is where I go. I try to get the damn button, and then it